here, and welcome back to the Jersey Phanatics. I'm Chris the Dace Man Dace, and joining me this week, back from assignment, as we send Erik Barrezo off on assignment, Tyler Freed.
Guess who's back again. What up? I'm glad to be back for this. It's been a little bit. I had to, take some time on my assignment after that frustrating playoffs.
We told people you were in Japan scouting, since Erik desperately wants an Asian.
Well, I'm so glad that I did a good job at scouting all these guys. They just don't seem to want to sign in Philly.
Too far away. They want to stay on the West Coast. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have Shohei on the East Coast, so they all want to sign with him.
Yeah, that's very true. So we're going to talk a couple transactions that happened. Last time we talked was the middle of December. Of course, we recorded before anything. Dave Dombrowski decided to wake up. We only really talked about the Jordan Romano. Well, yeah, loosely wake up.
Did he wake up, though?
We had only talked about the Jordan Romano signing, but the day after we finished recording our last episode of 2024, the Phillies went and signed right fielder Max Kepler. So what are your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, what were the Phillies really going to do? I mean, they were just going to sign a rotation piece for the outfield because they still believe in Rojas and they still believe in Marsh, and you obviously have Castellanos there. So, I mean, you're kind of just signing a guy that can, compete for innings. I mean, if he does better than Marsh or Rojas, then, he gets to go out there. I mean, I assume they're going to put him in left field. I don't think you move Castellanos.
Mm-mm.
So you move him over to left field, which I'm sure he's probably fine with. I feel like usually you put your defensive liability on left field, it seems like. If you're the Phillies. I mean, if Pat Burrell could do it, I think anyone could do it. I don't know. I mean, he seems like I feel like that's the type of guys that Dombrowski goes for. It's when he's healthy and when when he's right, he's a pretty good ball player. I mean, I feel like he's like a 260, 270 hitter, can slug for some power. I think it's a good fit, especially if you do want to go and explore trades for, someone and maybe not necessarily get an outfielder back in the trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the 2024 regular season, he had 368 at-bats, 43 runs, 93 hits, 8 home runs, 42 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and his average was 253 with an OBP of 302 and OPS of 682. So there was an argument going back and forth on Twitter that essentially he's Austin Hayes if Austin Hayes didn't
get injured.
Die. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Is he a righty or lefty? I don't remember. I think he's a righty. It makes sense if he's a righty.
Yeah, I think he's a righty.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, he's nothing special. It's not a big splash move. It's a good core.
He's actually a lefty.
Is he?
Yep. Bats left, throws left.
Bats left, throws left. I mean, if that tells me anything, there's got to be other moves being planned. Like I personally, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into my trade speculations later. You want to just get into them now?
Jump into them now. We only have one other move that happened in the Christmas break or before the Christmas break.
I mean, all right. So him being left-handed, that kind of, shifts at least the thinking a little bit because, what are you going to put him in instead of Marsh in left field to bat against or hit against a lefty?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his splits are, but I can't imagine they would sign a lefty to be Marsh's platoon guy because Marsh struggles against lefties. I honestly believe they're shopping the shit out of Marsh. I don't think they lost faith in him for whatever reason last season. Obviously, he's one of the many guys that didn't show up in playoffs, but that was also because of, things we've talked about on this podcast before. They weren't giving him the at-bats against lefties, so you can't really expect him to go in the playoffs and face a lefty and be like, I got this. I can hit this guy.
To give you, just to interrupt real quick, the stats for the splits for Kepler, he was 273 against left-handed and 247 against right.
So he does pretty well. Did they show you the plate appearances?
55 against the left-handed hitters, 101 versus right-handed hitters.
Yeah.
So,
So I mean, it's a little skewed, but at the same time, it is showing that he can hit against lefties.
mhm.
I mean, I do think he's potentially Marsh's replacement, at least in the short term. I think he's a guy that um, I, I don't know what they plan on doing with a lot of our younger guys, but maybe they plan to move him to the outfield. Maybe he's the guy until they feel like Justin Crawford's ready. You know, like something small like that, because he's someone that can help you now, where Crawford's someone that's going to help you in 2 years roughly. And you're probably gonna, out of Marsh's career, this was probably one of his better seasons, so you're probably gonna get the highest value out of him if you try to do something. There's a lot. I feel like they still have left in the tank to do in this offseason. Obviously, I don't know if you guys talked about it, but the rumors with Bregman and how they keep wanting him here. I it sucks because the fact that Bryce Harper is our first baseman ruins literally everything. I love Bryce as our first baseman, but he's just such he's such an athletic guy that I wish they would just go to him. And I mean, unless his elbow's completely fucked, they need to go to him and be like, listen, you're going back to the outfield. Like, just go to the outfield for a season or two. Like, you'll be okay. Listen, we know you could play first base. You could do this in 3 years towards the end of this big contract. And fuck it, you go to the outfield. We'll give you a contract extension. We'll give you the extension that you're looking for. But you got to go back to right field or left field or whatever the hell. I mean, I would assume they'd probably put him back at right and Castillo to left or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and if they're concerned about his arm, put him in left. What's the he's defensively? I can't see him doing any better or worse on either side.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like you put that's the weird thing. Like, you have your weaker fielder in left field, but you want your stronger arm there too.
Yeah,
so
sense.
That's why I think you put Casty there. I mean, that was the original plan. The original plan was to kind of platoon Casty and Schwarber over in left field, and then but yeah, and Schwarber plays a role in it too, where it kind of just like you have two players clogging up positions because they're not really going to go anywhere else. You can't really move them, and it because in all actuality, I don't want to move Bohm. I think Bohm is a good fit for this team. I think he's honestly he's a good third baseman. I wouldn't mind. I felt like he took a lot of strides this season defensively. Obviously, he ended the season real shitty, but I mean, what Philly didn't?
Good point.
In reality, all these guys sucked at the end of the season, so you can't take the end of his season and hold that against him, considering he was having an MVP type first half, essentially. Like, he was definitely in the conversation, at least, with how good he was.
He was a runner-up to the home run derby. Nobody called that.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, he kind of fell into the home run derby slump after, so don't do that this season and he'll be fine.
Yeah. And isn't he 4 years younger than Bregman? That's my beef, is that
that's I don't know how old Bohm is.
I think Bohm's 27, 28, and I think Bregman's in his 30s, early 30s.
Bregman just turned 31, I believe.
Okay. I mean, it's the same case with the rumors about Arenado coming over, because we were on his preferred list of where he'd want to go, and it's like, why are we on a 33-year-old? Granted, being 36, that's kind of shocking to say, but Arenado's better days are behind him.
There's, all those trade rumors were around Bohm. Now, you don't trade for Arenado with Bohm, for Bohm. That's just a stupid straight up trade, because at this point, yes, you're getting Arenado's defense, but his offense lacks. There's more room for improvement in Bohm at that point. I don't think Arenado's defense really makes up for what his offense is right now. I consider Bohm the better player.
And Arenado spent a good portion of last year on the IL.
He
has this massive contract for 2 or 3 more years?
I believe it's 2 more years. But yeah, he has a massive it's just not worth it. I don't Arenado, I mean, you told me this 2 years ago, might be a different story. Just because where we were at with the window with the players that we have, I felt like, okay, cool, like throw another veteran in here, let's try that. But no, I'm glad we didn't. Um, there's like, I'm not against Bregman coming in. It just has to be for the right, situation. Like I don't necessarily want to get rid of Bohm. Like my ideal plan would be
Boom to
bring
first.
Bregman in, Bohm the first, Harper to the outfield. Shit. Honestly, in that situation, if we did this, and you're, of course, you're gonna think I'm thinking one way, but it would be because of their contracts. You either trade Schwarber or you trade Castellanos.
Mm-hmm.
I think Castellanos has one less year, so I think he's the easier contract to trade.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
to make
Schwarber's in his
that.
contract year this year, and then Castellanos has an additional year next year.
Oh, okay, so it's the other way
Yeah.
around. Schwarber's in his contract here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's tough because Schwarber's such a locker room guy. Like you don't want to just trade him and get him out because he is, I guess, what they consider the team captain right now.
Which makes sense. He does have that vibe.
So like it's definitely tough to do that scenario. But like you have to bounce Harper somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more likely situation would be DH at this point in his career. I don't think he's willing to go back to the outfield. So that would be where you go, all right, Schwarb, like you either need to stop being a fuck up in the outfield,
Mm-hmm.
or it would, or you're gone. Like we might have to, offload you. I don't think Bregman's that huge of an upgrade from Schwarber, just like overall, not necessarily. Like I think, obviously Bregman's good defensively. He's got good offensive numbers. But I would take Schwarber's leadership and all of that he brings to the table and just the chemistry that he brings to the locker room with what he does over Bregman. So, I mean, if Bregman's in there, I mean, I ultimately think they do trade Bohm, but I don't think they should.
The other downside to Bregman is probably the longevity of the contract. It does sound like he's looking for years, and then basically our entire infield would be locked up, except for Stott, if Harper refused to move from first.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy because you have Aiden Miller in the waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't. That's why to me it doesn't make any sense. Like I think. I mean, I do think they just kind of ride it out and they look for trade rather than free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's how the rest of this all season goes. If something major happens, it's from a trade. There's no one really out there that's like.
The only name that I kept floating by Erik during our December podcasts, because we obviously knew we weren't getting Juan Soto, and I didn't. Teoscar had no interest to coming here, so the only one that I kept floating was Santander. If the market kind of got delayed on him, like if he keeps dragging this out and gets closer to spring training, I think we have higher odds of getting him at like maybe a 1 year, 2 year deal.
Have the Orioles signed anyone for their outfield though?
Honestly, I've been tracking Orioles enough to know, but
I know they've had some good or they've had some signings, but I'm not exactly sure what they've done.
The rumor on Santander recently was that he got an offer from the Blue Jays.
I could see that. I think he started his career with the Blue Jays. So I could see that, but I mean, fuck the Blue Jays.
No, I agree.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool if he came to the Phillies on like 1 year prove-it deals or some shit. Because that is what his issue is. His issue is he popped off for 1 year, so a lot of teams are like, well, I'm not going to pay you a long contract for that.
Yeah.
Unless you're a team like the fucking Blue Jays or the Giants, who I just feel like go out and sign these ridiculous contracts for players, and it's like, do they really help your team though? Like, are you really going to be better because you signed this guy? Like, I feel like they're just the one-off pan guys.
The other outfielder that's kind of been tied, or at least been floated through some of the dirt sheets when it comes to the Phillies, is Mark Kahana, because he was out in the Giants. He's played for the Mets. He
was with Detroit at the end of last year, right?
Yeah, I think so. He's out there on the free agency. I think you're right. I think towards the end of December when we were talking about the free agent market, we were basically like, yeah, it's got to be a trade. Really felt like the weird stories of just everyone was attached to Bohm at some point, and then Rob Thompson coming out saying, look, we're not trying to shop you. It's like, it really feels like you're fucking trying to shop him.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a reporter that was just like the Phillies could so easily shut this down, but like it obviously seems like these reports are coming from the Phillies. Like the
Mhm.
Phillies are fishing this out there for their reporters to say this, so that way they create buzz around the market. So it basically to make it seem like Bohm had a bigger market, so
Mhm.
his trade value was higher. Whether they were actively trying to do it or not, that's different. But they probably came. Thompson probably came out when he did and was like, "Well, he probably said that because they weren't getting any traction on any trades,"
Mhm.
which is wild to me. I mean, I don't see it. I don't know. I mean, I guess because of the way he ended last season and his behavioral problem that it seemed to be,
Yep.
that's what kind of like made people fishy about, looking for him. But
I
he's
would
what,
be.
26, 27. He's under control. I mean, you could get him for arbitration value, which isn't, ridiculous for an up and coming third baseman
Mhm.
who could be your first baseman if you really, want it. And I mean, I, I think we got to keep him. Like personally, I think he's one of the guys that we need to keep because I think long term he's one of those guys that just will help us
No,
because
I
he is.
totally agree.
He's still improve. Like if he hasn't been improving every year, I'd say all right, fuck it, get rid of him. But
Mhm.
every single year, he never had the regression year that like Stott did last year.
Yep.
He didn't have the regression year. Well, I mean, Marsh had a better year last year too, but that's not saying much for him. But he never had that regression year. I don't believe. I mean, I still feel like I know his rookie year was COVID, so his stats don't necessarily match everything. But
Mhm.
I mean, he was runner up for rookie of the year.
Yep. I mean, he had that shit start, but ever since that shit start, he's shown nothing. Like that season where he effing hated this place.
Yeah,
He's been like improving ever since then. So I really don't like the idea of moving on from at third. I do see the problem we have with him at third and Aiden Miller coming up in the ranks, and you've got Turner and Harper blocking two of the four spots.
I really hate. I really hate what I think is gonna happen
They're trading
because
Miller.
Stott. No,
I'm
because
trading
Stott's
Stott.
my boy. Stott's like the odd man out here because they're gonna fall in love with what Aiden Miller can do, and they'll probably do what the Padres did with Bogarts, where they moved him to second. They taught him how to play second, so
Mm-hmm.
they'll move Trey Turner over to second, and then they'll bring Aiden Miller up to play shortstop if he's a better defender than Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fuck it, like I think they should go teach fucking Stott. Like they should kingery the shit out of Stott or something. Like go
Mm-hmm.
teach him to play center field. Like you need to keep. I personally think you got to keep him, but
Well,
it's such a disjustice to him too because he's so good defensively
yeah.
at
Oh, as the
second.
second baseman, he fucking Gold Glove. Like I know he keeps getting screwed because of was it Kettle?
Yeah, I can tell Marte,
Yeah,
piece
or
of shit.
but
Hate the fucking Diamondbacks.
what do you think about the report that came out over the winter break of Stott was dealing with an elbow issue the whole year? Never said anything. Like that wasn't ever brought to our attention during the
I
season.
100% believe it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's and especially if it didn't come from him and it's just a wild report. Like it's not like him bitching at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of shit that you kind of hear. Like you're like, oh well, that kind of makes sense. Like, but you didn't hear it during the season, so like
Yeah.
I'm cool with that because he was just battling through it. He just did what he had to do, and maybe he wasn't healthy,
Well,
and that's why he was struggling to hit.
I think it came from Dombrowski that he was dealing with an elbow issue. Whether that's just Dombrowski covering his own ass or whatever, but
I
it,
mean, it could also be the fact that like a player like I mean I don't know what his personality's like, but I mean he's buds with fucking Harper, so like he's a player that's like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking head down, play through this shit, and then
mm-hmm.
maybe it came out at the end of the season where he had a bigger issue than he actually thought.
Yeah,
Because they do like end of year physicals or some shit.
which makes sense because who was it last year that ended up getting some kind of surgery after the postseason? That was like he was fucking hurt. I think it was Bohm. It might have been Bohm. That they got some kind of
Yeah.
surgery that they were back in time for spring training, and you wouldn't have known they were hurt during the 2023 season.
Uh,
Might have even been
was it
Schwarber. Like
was it Marsh?
uh,
It was Marsh.
yeah, it was
Mar
somebody that you wouldn't have expected it from.
Yeah, Marsh didn't. He had like a knee issue
Mm-hmm.
that he missed most of spring training for. I remember that. Yeah, because I thought it was going to affect his roster spot. Like I thought like that was going to like affect him not making the team, but making the team to start the year because he could play minor league still.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see what they do at that position. To Stott's point, he probably played through it because let's just assume he got the injury around the same time half the team went down. You had JT out, you had Harper go out, Turner all went out. They were all gone for a good 4 to 6 weeks at the same time. And that was when Sosa was on fire. And it's just like, well, what do you do at that point? Just play through it. The only other conversation that we kind of touched base with last year about the whole trade market, well, not really trade market, but the post 2025 season, and what we might do as an organization, it kind of revolves around JT and Schwarber. They're both playing in contract years. And Erik and I kind of went back and forth on this. I honestly think JT is going to get an extension because he's the best catcher on the market in 2026.
Well, why wouldn't he get an extension? Mm-hmm. Do we have a catcher coming up for the minors?
Nope. I mean, right now it's technically Marchand if you want to make an argument for it, but he's injured every year.
Do you trust him?
No.
Do you trust him? No, you don't trust him. What, you have Garrett Stubbs? Yeah, you're not like
who's on a half and half deal.
Those two basically proved this season when JT went down that they're not, like Marchand, yeah, he should be a backup catcher. I do believe he should be on a major league roster and he should be, not splitting time, but it should not be like 90-10 JT and backup catcher anymore. It should definitely be more like 75-25 or like even if you want to kick it, I want to go 60-40, but I mean, obviously JT is getting older. I do think he needs you should resign him. There's no one out there unless unless you have some amazing trade for like Will Smith or some shit like that. There's not a better catcher. He still still knows how to call his pitchers.
That's the key thing too. The call on the pitchers, because if you look at it, they extended Wheeler, extended Nola, extended Sanchez. You're gonna want a catcher that these guys are comfortable with behind the plate.
I mean, if you look at all the contracts, excluding Harper and Turner, everyone's contract is basically the window's the next 2 years.
Yeah,
we have this year, we have next year. That's the window for basically all these players. Like obviously we have JT and Schwarber for this year, but like it's kind of one of them. Okay, well if we don't do well this year and one of those guys struggles, one of them's probably out. They're probably not getting re-signed. I do think that if we get into the season, I don't know if we get into the season and we don't re-sign JT, if he re-signs with us.
Yeah.
In the sense of we're not going to pay him a shit ton of money because we know where he's at in his career. Where you're going to have a team like the fucking White Sox that are just like, well, we need to throw money at someone, so let's just throw it at a catcher that can, handle our young pitchers. So I think you're right. I think they should re-sign. Like that should be this year's bigger, I guess, move is they should re-sign JT before the season starts.
Yeah. And only because if you look at the market for 2026 with catchers, the other big name is Salvador Perez, who may or may not retire in.
He ain't leaving. He's not leaving KC. If he doesn't retire, he's not leaving KC.
But those are the two big names. It's him and JT. And then
he's older, isn't he?
He's 36, 37. So that's unless he's going to play designated hitter, I can't see him catching many more games behind the plate.
Yeah.
To our point where we have Garrett he's on a half and half contract this year. Marchand is fighting for that position, and then Erik said there's a guy in Double-A that could be ready to 3 to 4 years, which I think is the extension you would get for JT.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely at this point, you're at the point of JT's career where you do need his replacement somewhere in your system.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, next year, this year, in the next couple of years, he should be in our system or you should be ready to go find the guy that's in our system and put him in our system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because there's no, if you look at the catchers, you have your core five basically that are you got Will Smith, JT, Sean Murphy,
Contreras ish.
He's 50-50.
I mean, he had the benefit on his team that he had a DH that could catch, so they were swapping every other day or whatever.
You're talking. Which one are you talking about, William or Wilson?
Whatever one had. I was at Brewers.
Brewers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's not a great. That's the thing. He's a good hitter. He's not a great catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the difference with him.
But I think JT gets re-signed. I think if Schwarber is a good deal, he'll get re-signed. Because just being a sole DH, anybody could do that. I mean, look at McCutcheon.
Well,
He's getting re-signed again, and that guy could pretty
that's
much stay in Pittsburgh until Pittsburgh gets tired of him.
see. Here's the thing. I think Schwarber doesn't get re-signed. Like he doesn't get extended. Let's put it
Mm-hmm.
that way. He doesn't get extended. Does he get re-signed next offseason? I think there's a good chance. It really just depends on the first baseman market.
Yeah.
Or third baseman, I guess, in the instance if we keep Bohm. Really just depends on the pieces around us. I think if we have better pieces to put in there, and the best scenario is, we're floating Harper at DH potentially, or we're signing someone else that can like flip in and out, kind of deal, like basically flipping Harper and this other person at first in DH,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, I mean, I don't see Schwarber coming back. But I mean, he's someone that we would re-sign next offseason. I don't think he's someone that we extend because there's just too many moving parts with him.
Yeah. And then I guess the other contract in 2026 would be Ranger. I think he's eligible for free agency. Honestly, thought he was going to be a bigger conversation piece in the trade market, and then he went and got Scott Boras as an agent, so that made it even more fun.
Yeah, I think he's secretly being shopped. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if we're being honest, they made that trade, the other offseason move that we made. Did you guys start talking about the trade yet?
With
Was that gonna
Luzardo,
happen?
no, that
Luzardo?
happened a week after our last show, so no, we
Gotcha.
didn't get a chance to talk about Luzardo yet.
So if you want to mention him, and then we
Let's
can talk
roll with
about
it.
him. So obviously we traded for Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
We
Got a
traded Kaba, and then two other prospects that really weren't like crazy
Kaba,
good.
shortstop Starlin Kaba, and left fielder Amarian Boyd for the left-handed pitcher Jesus Luzardo and catcher Paul McIntosh.
Okay, so I mean the Luzardo trade, that kind of is like you don't make that trade with a good prospect like Kaba. Like Kaba was a coveted prospect. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
someone that we were floating in the Crockett trade. The Luis Robert trade when we were debating on him. He was everyone's coveted. So obviously they see a lot in Sanchez. I think. Sorry, I said Sanchez. What's his name?
Luzardo.
Luzardo. Sorry. I mean, he seems like the Dombrowski pick of well, when he's healthy, he's great, but we just have to get through that. Like we have to figure out the healthy pick, kind of like Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
Wheeler was great. Like I think he's like they're kind of hoping that he follows, not necessarily, obviously I don't think he's going to be as good as Wheeler, but follows that trend where like he's going to be healthy and he's going to do well with us, which leads him to what, the fifth. Right now he's projected at the fifth spot because
Mm-hmm.
fuck Taiwan Walker.
Go back to your taco truck, bitch. Sorry.
But we have Andrew Painter
Yeah.
in the waiting. Like he is. That's just, we're waiting. I mean, I heard reports that they're going to look at him until July. But okay, Andrew Painter comes up. Who's the odd man out? It's not Sanchez. You just gave him a big contract. You just traded for Luzardo,
Mm-hmm.
so it's you have Ranger.
Yeah.
What do you do with Ranger? Especially considering you just picked up another left-handed pitcher. The Phillies have historically not liked having that many left-handed pitchers in recent history in their starting rotation. So I think somewhere, I mean, I wish they go the way I prefer Ranger and they move him to the bullpen because I think he's better in the bullpen. I will say that until I'm blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
He is way better in the bullpen. That's where he should go. But I do think they're kind of going to phase him out because he is in a contract year and they don't want to pay him.
Yep. And then he got Boras as a manager, so that had to make it even
more of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because fuck Scott Boras and all of his clients.
Yep.
That's right. I said it. Even though Bryce Harper's his client, and there's probably like 10 other Scott Boras people in our.
I think it was half our team. Except Casty. Casty got rid of him. He said, fuck your shit. Represent myself. I don't know where he plans on going with that, but the Luzardo pickup happened. We also had a free agent signing of a right-handed pitcher, Joe Ross. That happened on the 23rd of December. So
I don't remember where Ross came from.
He was pitching for Milwaukee last year, but he was with the Nationals from 2015 to 2021.
Okay, I remember who Ross is. He's like that middle of the bullpen, like kind of hoping that he's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why we haven't signed Hoffman yet. It
so
blows my mind.
You want to get into that conversation? The rumor is
Absolutely.
Today Estevez is getting more interest from the Phillies over Hoffman. We talked about it in December that Hoffman was entertaining the idea of being a starter, and maybe that's why there's hesitation from the Phillies. What are your thoughts on the Hoffman situation?
I mean, if that's what he ultimately wants, like if Hoffman's looking to go be a starter somewhere, then sure, go the fuck somewhere else. Like that doesn't fit our situation.
Mm-mm.
But I don't understand why you would when you just had an all-star season as basically relief end of the bullpen guy.
Yeah. Oh, there's also reports that were floating around that he wasn't too happy that Estevez was brought in. But I don't know how you could get mad about that, or if there's any merit to it when you know that Topper plays closer by committee. He has done it for his entire time.
I also don't understand why you get mad at that when you showed that you were a better pitcher than Estevez. Like you went out and proved that you were ultimately better than him last season. I mean, everyone struggled in the playoffs. Like nothing anyone did in the playoffs should necessarily be held against them.
True, but he didn't give up the grand slam to Lindor, and that will forever be tagged with Estevez. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where we're at. I mean, we signed Romano.
Well, the conversation we were having at the end of 2024 with me and Erik, basically there's three coveted, we'll call them closers, even though it'll still be a closer by committee with Topper because it's just the way he manages, and we're stuck with that. There's Tanner Scott, Estevez, and Hoffman, all out there still, and they're still out there now, as far as I know. I don't think Scott got signed.
Mm-hmm.
The prediction we walked away with, I think Erik said we were going to get 2 out of the 3. I think we get 1 out of the 3, and it does seem to be leaning to Estevez.
I mean, I feel like I can see why they would lean towards Estevez just because, like, you gave up a good amount for him to trade for him and get him here. You basically traded to get him here, so you had, I guess a leg up in signing, like, trying to re-sign him because you had the relationship already.
Yeah.
And then you showed that you wanted him by going to get him. If it was 2 out of 3, I don't want the Estevez Hoffman combo. Like, it obviously didn't prove good last year. I would prefer Hoffman and Scott. I just think Estevez he didn't show a lot for us personally. Yeah. I liked Hoffman. He just got gassed out at the end of the season. I think that was it. He wasn't used to as many innings as he pitched, and just kind of lost it all back at the end. So I would take Hoffman. I'm honestly blown away that we didn't re-sign him sooner or quicker.
It makes sense if he was really pursuing the whole starter thing, because he had to see the writing on the wall of like, hey, they already got 5 in a way. They're looking for another one because of what's happening with Taiwan, and then you have Painter. So it's just like it's a crowded. It's weird. We have a weird problem in a starter position right now where we have like 6 or 7.
You have a bunch of them. Yeah, obviously Painter has to prove himself. He has to show that he can be a pitcher in the major leagues. But he's shown what he can do, so you're going to give him his shot before you give a guy like Hoffman an extended shot at being a starter.
And not to mention, you're also protecting Abel. Like, I know he's probably not a 2025 pitcher, but 2026 could be in the conversation, and you have Wheeler, Nola, and Sanchez already committed to 26.
Yeah.
So if Hoffman's looking for like a multiple-year contract as a starter, you're really fading out of the picture with that. So that kind of makes sense why maybe they didn't really have serious conversations with him. But if the starter market's going cold on him, I can see him coming back into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope so. I personally, out of all the relievers out there, I think we need to start with Hoffman and then either Tanner Scott or Estevez. I mean, I'm not gonna say no if you bring him back because
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. I'll say pretty good. He's not great. Like he's not like obviously he's not fucking shutting everyone down.
Yeah.
As we all know, but
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I would hate to see Hoffman go to another team and then suck. Like if the magic was Philadelphia for him, like because he came back here,
yeah.
kind of revitalized his career, and it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go play the market. I'm gonna get some money in like New York, which would fucking suck, but I'm gonna go play for the
But
Mets.
that's the shitty thing about like a player like Hoffman, and I don't think it's necessarily personal,
Mhm.
but like players like that usually end up on the Mets or the Braves or
Yeah,
like someone that you're like, bro, we just want the fucking war against them, and you're gonna just go sign with them. Like that's fucked up.
yeah,
But
Covey.
for some reason that's like popular
Yeah,
in baseball for whatever reason.
that's so weird.
It's weird to me. Like
It's like,
if I was truly invested in playing in Philadelphia
mm,
and I had all this hatred. I understand, maybe they're coming at you with the most money, but I would imagine there's got to be another team like the Brewers or like some dumbass team that are like, well, we'll throw similar money at you. I would be like, fucking, I'm going to the Brewers
mhm.
because fuck the Mets. Like,
Yeah. No, I agree with that too. Like unless you're getting a situation like Reese Hoskins did, where he kind of got pushed off the team unintentionally.
well, yeah, but I mean, Reese Hoskins went to the Brewers. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like he went to the Mets. Like,
Yeah, and then immediately started shit with the Mets while he was on the Brewers. He didn't forget where he was
exactly.
from.
Philly forever. Like that's what I'm talking. Like go to the AL team. Go to the
Yeah.
fucking Yankees. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Yankees, bro. They really be pissing me off this offseason.
Uh,
All this for another first round bounce, bro. Like usually when they go this hard, they get bounced pretty early in the playoffs, which I'm
yeah.
really hoping for.
Likewise, I if they go back to the World Series again, we'll be pissed. Unless it's against us and we destroy them,
Yeah, that'd be
then I'll
pretty
be happy.
cool.
The only
Yeah.
other offseason move we've made came at the beginning of the year, where we traded Tyler Gilbert to the Chicago White Sox for right-handed pitcher Aaron Coombs, which I think has high accolades from college ball that he was playing. I didn't read too
Yeah,
much into him.
he's minor leaguer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whatever. It's, minor league deals. Nothing that's going to affect us in 2025. I don't believe.
No, not at all. And then they also signed a free agent Nick Yefsby to a minor league contract, and they did that yesterday. We're recording this on the 7th, but he was part of the Orioles organization last year.
Fucking Dombrowski and his Orioles thing. I don't know why he's been going to the Orioles well so often recently.
Well, last year he just clearly sabotaged him by giving him
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't even
Soto
care
and
that we don't have Austin Hayes on our team. The fact that he just gave them two players that are just like, we're gonna suck for you.
you taking them was a bigger positive for us than us taking Austin Hayes. Ah, that was hilarious. Anyway, that's kind of the off season that's out there. Like you said, I think trades are probably out there. Any trades you think are going to come down the line?
Trades are. I still think they're on Luis Roberts. Like I think he's still a trade candidate.
Mm,
I haven't really heard too many other rumors. I mean, if I had to go on our end of things, I think the biggest person we might trade away is Brandon Marsh. Like I think he's the one that's like, you're probably gone, dude. Like
mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, I think I also just think he's just not he's not the homegrown guy. Like he's not Bohm. He's not Stott. Like
Yeah.
he's not the guy we drafted. So that's why he's kind of like out of the young guy, the daycare. He's the one that might go. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it really depends on who's really available. It really depends on who you're getting
Mm-hmm.
because it would be Marsh for another outfielder. Like that's essentially what you'd have to be going for
Could you
if
see
you're
Marsh
trading
being
him.
paired with Suarez if Ranger's going to be the odd man out on this rotation?
That's gonna be. I mean, maybe I
Because
could see
I could
that.
see the Phillies just taking a chance on Taiwan just because they owe him money.
I
Like,
don't. I don't. I don't think Taiwan pitches another inning for the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think he pitches another inning.
Do you think we eat some of the contract to unload him?
I I don't think a team's gonna want him. I think you just unload him. I think you
Yeah.
just you just eat his fucking contract and just say fuck it. What? There's 2, 3 more years on it. Just eat it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's worth it. Like, I mean, unless he's got some shit on Dombrowski, I think.
He might. The way they kept
That
fucking playing him at the end of last year, like
yeah.
they
I
fucking might
will.
have something.
I will say this though. Um, this year's a big year for Dombrowski because if this team doesn't win,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to be looked at because none of the things that he's been doing worked.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's a big year for him. I don't think they really, I mean, unless they really shit the bed, I don't think they go after Topper. Like I think he's just too much of a player's coach where, you know, if you're going to blow up the front office, you're going to need a guy in the clubhouse that's kind of keeping everything even keel
Mm-hmm.
for guys like Harper and Turner, you know, that are going to be around that sign big contracts. So I think this year specifically is a big year for him, especially considering he hasn't done anything in the past 2 off seasons really.
Yeah. And they've already
Like,
made some front office moves, like prepping for a Dombrowski exit. So it
yeah,
wouldn't be
and I
a
mean,
hard trigger to pull.
I mean, I know, I, I think maybe internally that's because Dombrowski's probably, you know, he's old, so
Mm-hmm.
he's ready to fucking retire soon.
And
But
he's always had his size set on a Nashville expansion team,
yeah, that
if
was
that ever
always
comes to fruition.
his real goal, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
we're just distracting him for a couple of years. I mean, listen, I'm glad he hasn't done I mean, he hasn't done it yet. The typical thing where he comes into a team, blows up their farm system, and then leaves them with absolutely nothing. I feel like we do have a pretty good, at least core group of young players that like.
I'll give him credit. He could have said, "All right, I'm going to empty it this year," because I mean everybody's been asking about Painter, everybody's asking about Miller, Crawford, and he's just like, "I got a Bohm and a Casty for you,
Yeah,
and I
he's
want
not really. He's
all your all
holding on to
stars."
those guys, and
Yeah.
I think that's the mixture of. Listen, you signed 2 superstars to long contracts.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the young guys to follow to basically tail end their contracts.
Yep.
Obviously, we've had the young guys to start the contracts mixed in with good veterans. I think he continues that trend. Like if you lose the contract of Schwarber, you're going to go out and get another equivalent contract
Mm-hmm.
wherever the position might be. Same thing in the next following year. When you lose Casty, you're going to get, you know, I really don't think Casty ever, like, when his contract's up, he's the kind of guy that's like, oh, I want to go try something new. Like, I feel like that's what ultimately he's going to do. And I think that's why he's a personally, like, I like Casty as much as me and you go back and forth.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because I think Schwarber's better, it doesn't mean I don't like Casty. But I think he's the easiest tradable piece. Like, I think he's the easiest one to be like, listen, you have another year's worth of control with him. And then you could sign an extension with him or whatever. He's a suitable outfielder. He can hit well. Here you go. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then offload him for hopefully something good, but probably won't be.
Well, I think the problem with Casty is the contract he had, and then the outfielders that were available. Because it was a crowded outfielder market. I mean, obviously dominated by Juan Soto, even though you were not signing him for his outfield skills. But
No.
you had Teoscar out there. They were shopping Bellinger, which eventually went to the Yankees. You still have Santander out there. Um, God, who else? There was a shit ton of outfielders out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you're not trading Casty unless you have a suitable like replacement for him. Like
Yeah.
like right now, if you're going off of free agents alone, we talked about it earlier. Santander is the only one that would be suitable to replicate what Casty can do. Not necessarily say he can do what Casty does, but
Mm-hmm.
he's the only one that's like, you know, that level, that tier, I guess. And we don't
But
really have that like
well, I'm just saying from
that
an outside
guy.
team perspective, is there's a lot
Yeah.
cheaper options than
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
unloading for Casty. Because, I mean, you got Profar still out there. Kanhana's out there. Technically, Hayes is out there. Tommy Pham. Harrison Bader. Just some Santander. Jason Hayward's out there.
I mean, yeah. Casty's more of a, I would say, like a trade deadline move.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's more of a like, hey, we need someone who's hot right now. You
Yeah.
know, let's go get him. Let's go get that guy because he can. You know, I guess a desperation move. Which I mean, at the same time, we really hope that we're not necessarily selling at that point in the year too.
Yeah. But I think from us trying to revamp our outfield by getting rid of some of our outfield, it was a bad year to do that. Just because of how many outfielders so many outfielders I feel like last year signed 1-year deals with teams, and it was just like it's now overloading the market on the outfield spot, and our infield's so tied up in contracts that like we're really pigeonholed.
You ready?
Yep.
Crazy theory here, right? This is just like an outlandish, like, what could possibly happen to make this team like fucking over the top, ridiculous good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we do. I'll even go. We trade Schwarber, right?
Okay.
Gone. Sign Alonso.
He's got such a punchable face. It's not his baseball skills. It's just his face.
I fucking hate the guy too. But I'm just saying, like, if we're like, let's go all in for one season, right?
Yeah.
Sign Alonso. But you're actually moving Harper to the outfield, right? So move Harper to the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get him to sign on this, right?
Okay.
Alonso becomes our DH. Boom, moves over to first, and then we sign Alex Bregman.
Holy shit. Wow. That would be a very interesting
like I know it would never happen.
No.
But it would be fucking insane if it did for a good couple months.
It would happen if Cohen owned our team. He would say fuck it. Like if you walked to the office like, hey, I got an idea, fucking sign it. Throw money at it, see what happens.
Make a phone call to Bryce Harper right now. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. Tell him we're going to give him more money, and if it doesn't work, I'm trading the entire team at the deadline. We'll try again next year.
That's literally what I would go. Like, I mean, unless his elbow's actually jacked up. I know we talked about it before, but like that is the move I would go to. Is moving Harper.
It's he's still got to have elbow problems. I mean, he did that bullshit in the postseason where he started waving his arm out after he took a couple swings. But like we never got the team we were promised in 2022, where we were going to have that outfield, and then we would have Reese may still have been on the team at that point. I don't know if we would have upgraded him or not, but it really, like, the what if he just stayed healthy and stayed in the right field.
If he just never had the elbow issue, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering, like, if his elbow was healthy, like entirely healthy for that 2022 run, like, imagine how much better he would have been.
Probably MVP year, knowing him. Because it was not a year that we were expected to go far. It was a year that we were expecting to get back on our feet and start competing again, not run to the World Series. And we did it with a half-broken team.
Yeah, and it's wild. It's so wild to me that he had the postseason that he had after getting Tommy John surgery and just being like, yeah, fuck it, like I'm gonna figure it out the last couple months.
Mm-hmm. So, aside from the bold trade or bold offseason move, where would Schwarber go in that deal? You said trade him.
Just trade him. Just get him going.
Cash.
Send him back to the Cubs. Like the Cubs are like pretending to do something right now by trading for Kyle Tucker. Yeah. That's a move I was really upset about. Like if there was a guy that we could have went and got, Kyle Tucker is who I wanted. Okay. I didn't care. I don't want to say I didn't care who you had to trade for him, but like if you kept Andrew Painter and maybe Aiden Miller or Crawford, like two of those three guys out of that trade, I'd have been cool with that shit. I would have been totally cool with that. And I get why the Astros did it, because they did get a guy who's ready to play now and a young guy that's going to be ready to play for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Kyle Tucker, that was my offseason hope and wish.
Well, any bold 2025 predictions of where we go from here? I mean, it's quiet. We're probably talking Hall of Fame in a couple weeks to see if those guys make it there. But really, it's been such a quiet offseason for us.
I mean, there's going to be a trade. What it is, I'm not sure. I don't know where we go with it. I don't know how we improve from it, but there's going to be a trade. I think it's going to be for an outfielder, most likely a center fielder. I'm hoping the Phillies are pushing Johan Rojas's fucking Dominican winter ball tapes just so his trade value goes up or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like Rojas, but Justin Crawford can do what he does in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really like I don't need to hold on to him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a trade. It's a trade somewhere. I'll go without being too specific. It's going to be an AL outfielder that we get in the trade.
Not one that's a fish, right?
The
one that everybody ridiculously keeps saying that we're going to get, South Jersey native. Why this is the time to trade for Trout. Fucking hate those stories.
I wasn't going for him. I wasn't even thinking about him. But like I said, I don't have an actual player in mind.
That's fair.
Because I just think there's a lot of people in the AL that we could go fish from. I don't think anyone in the NL is gonna, improve our team.
Yeah,
because they have to go against us. The team that I'm scared of that I feel like has improved, I don't want to say scared of, but has actually improved. And if they can recatch their little magic that they had last season, the Diamondbacks have improved pretty well this year. Because they went out and got Corbin Burns.
Yep.
They went and signed who's the other? They signed the first baseman.
Because they lost Christian Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost Walker to the Astros. They signed a first baseman that was pretty good. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And then they did something else too. That I was like, oh shit, all right. I think they went and got a relief pitcher.
Knowing them, probably. Like they've been making a lot of moves. Obviously, the Dodgers have just been signing people so people can't fucking play elsewhere. How do you feel about that? Because we've bitched about that almost every fucking week.
Dude, it's just them and the Dodgers and the Yankees, bro. They just be like, hey, listen, we have this unlimited clip of money because we are who we are, and we're gonna flex it. We're gonna flex it every 5 years and just fucking sign everyone for ridiculous. But I think they fucked themselves. Like, I wouldn't sign Blake Snell to a 5-year deal.
Nope.
Listen, he had an okay end to the season, but like after the way he started last season, absolutely not.
So the Diamondbacks got Josh Naylor for first.
Naylor, that's who it was. Yep, Naylor.
Because I work with a Guardians fan, and I was asking, like, what the fuck is your team doing, man? Like, you guys are just giving people away? Like, I'll take some people.
The Guardians are like the better version of I can't even say the better version because the Rays do the same thing where they just fucking trade everyone away and then they're still good somehow. Like they still just like randomly be having these really good teams with players that you had no idea who the hell they were until they either win the Cy Young or an MVP with them. I think, no, we already traded for a pitcher. I was going to say Shane Bieber was someone that I kept looking at last season before he went down.
Yeah.
Because he's re-signed with them for a year, but I think that's just because of his injury.
Honestly, I think we probably make one more bullpen move. I don't know if it'll be the bullpen move we're desiring. Because I'm mad. Scott, Hoffman, and Estevez are going to come in a pretty penny. And I don't know if we're that committed to our bullpen being that expensive.
Absolutely should be. Because I don't understand. Like,
I'm not getting vibes that they want to.
Why wouldn't you spend money at the position that has basically screwed us in the postseason multiple years in a row? Like, not to say that our offense hasn't been a part of the problem, but our bullpen has been, number one or number two every year. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was the bullpen, the early 2020s, late 90s, whatever. Ever since we signed Harper, whether it was the bullpen struggled late in the season, so we kept losing games and we didn't make the playoffs, or it's late in the season, now our bullpen's gassed. The whole reason we made it through 2022 is because our bullpen played so well until the World Series.
Yeah.
So, and then, we would have made the World Series had we not kept fucking pushing Keg Krimble down everyone's fucking throat in 2023. So, like, it's just like silly little things like that where it's just like,
He's available.
go get a young Craig Kimbrell. Like, go get a guy like that you could just put at the back end of your bullpen. Like, why not go get a Devin Williams? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why the fuck do the Yankees always have to go get guys like that? Go get him. Like, he's been the relief pitcher of the year for however many years. Shit, he won relief pitcher of the year as not even a closer 2 years ago. Like, he recorded like 1 or 2 saves, but because he was just so ridiculously good in front of Josh Hader that like they gave him the award. Like, that's insane.
Now, there's a lot of relief pitching still out there.
There's no one that like there's no guys like that are out there
No,
anymore.
not at all. Just names that are popping off are Phil Maton. Just names I know that Hector Neris is out there. But
Go get me some Hector Neris, bro.
Hector's 36 though.
I don't give a shit. I love Hector Neris. He's like the unsung hero of the shit Phillies. Like, if you could give an MVP to like that time frame of the Phillies, Hector Neris deserves it.
Yeah.
That's why I think he deserves to play on a good version of the Phillies.
And he went and got a World Series the next year.
Yeah, he did. He did against us too.
Yeah,
it was really aggravating.
Paul Sewald's out there. Craig Kimbrell, our buddy, the Crane.
Sewald's out there.
Who?
Paul Sewald is out there.
Yeah, he's still out there.
The one that fucked us in Arizona. Piece of shit.
Yeah. AJ Minter's out there. I thought. Yeah.
No. Absolutely stay away from him.
Tanner Scott, Jeff Hoffman, David Robertson, Kenley Jansen, Carlo Estevez.
Jansen's he's an interesting name. Because he's still, like, I mean, yes, he falls under the category of Greg Kimbrell, but, like, he's not as unreliable. Like, he's still, like, you put him at the end of the game, like, he's clutch enough to do it.
I guess it really comes down to what the dollar value is. Because, like, a lot of these names is, like, it wouldn't hurt to have them, but, like, you're not 15
Yeah, but like 90% of them are probably represented by Scott Boras. So,
so yeah,
they won't sign until like 3 weeks into the season,
and then never be able to get started because we're gonna warm up, we're gonna go through training drills, all that bullshit.
Could you imagine though? Like, can you honestly imagine having your agent be like, no, just hold the line, just hold a little bit longer. And then you get a shitty contract, and then you perform like shit. So then you're going to get even a shittier contract. And then you're just like, well, fuck, dude. If I just signed 3 months ago, I would have gotten a bigger contract for longer years, and I wouldn't be doing this dance again this year. Why do you think Blake Snell signed with the Dodgers immediately? Like, it was like instantaneously. Yeah. He said, fuck that. I'm not doing that again, dude.
So there's a couple starting pitchers that are still out there. Not that we're in that market that I find interesting. Jack Flaherty's out there. Our buddy Nick Pivetta. Our other buddy Kyle Gibson.
Bring Pivetta back. Bring him back for a year.
Technically Clayton Kershaw.
Nah, he's Dodger or retire. There's no way he goes anywhere else.
And then the entire Mets staff that they haven't brought back.
I know Justin Verlander just signed with the Giants, I believe.
Yep, that was today. 1 year, $15 million. Pretty much, I told Erik he's sightseeing at this point.
They gave him $15 million. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? I wish I could be old, washed, and still get paid top dollar for my position. Like, Verlander showed you nothing last season. Like, we roughed him up, and then they're gonna pay him $15 million. And then a guy like Kyle Gibson, who fucking grinds out every season, does, like, is just good. Like, he's not great. Like, he's no one that's gonna blow you away, but he's gonna grind innings out. He's gonna give you better situation than like a guy like Justin Verlander, who's gonna be on the shelf 90% of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But Gibson's only gonna get like maybe like $3 million, if that.
If that. Lorenzen signed with KC for $7 million 1 year.
Eric's buddy.
Yep.
Well, actually, he was your buddy, right? You were all about Lorenzen
Oh,
last
I
season.
still am. I got his T-shirt. I got his plaque for his no-hitter. I got a little bit of sand from his no-hitter.
Listen, cool dude, great story. Does not need to be in the Phillies uniform ever again.
All the stuff I got was discounted. It wasn't like I paid full price.
I mean, listen, I'm cool if he wants to, have like a little like, hey, I'm gonna sign a 1-day retirement fucking contract with the Phillies because I threw a no hitter with him.
Yeah, why not? And then another interesting name out there, though I think he would never, ever, ever, ever come here. Max Scherzer. He's not there as a free agent.
Fuck it, sign him.
Oh, I don't think
I would actually sign Scherzer.
Oh, I think we would want to. I don't think he would.
Man.
Like, I think that's one player that would stick to the fuck that team.
I don't know, man.
He seems to hate the Phillies. Like,
no, he just seems to be really good against the Phillies.
I feel like he hates them too. Like every time, he always has an attitude about coming to Philadelphia.
But I want to have that attitude every day. Like if this is your home field, like you get double the starts here. Imagine just like mowing people down at Citizens Bank just to like end of the year, just like flip the bird at every Philadelphia fan. Like I'm cool with that, dude. Flip me off after you win the World Series. Like, haha, I did this out of spite of you. Like, I don't fucking care, bro. Good.
Give him the microphone. Like, I hate all of you people, and you now have a ring because of me.
But I don't think he's a player like that because he went from the Nationals up to the Mets. Like, I think he's a player that's just like, you're going to fucking pay me, you're going to pay me. Like, I'm cool with that.
But yeah, free agency will keep trekking on. We're 40-some days away from spring training? Less?
Actually, I think Scherzer would be a good fit for like the Tigers. Like obviously, he started his career there. Go there to end your career and with like a good up and coming young team. Like like if he has any loyalty to that, I don't know how he ended with them.
I was honestly shocked that Verlander didn't end up back there.
Me too. It would make sense if he went back too, but I mean maybe he didn't want to be teamed up with Scherzer again. Or the Tigers are just like, nah, fuck that. We're gonna keep the young bulls out here and just keep hoping.
So the last thing I want to talk to you about is the Japanese prospect or the Japanese free agent who will be able to sign, I think, next week, most likely with the Dodgers. Roku is what I'm calling him, even though his name is Roki.
Is he the infielder?
I think he's a pitcher.
Oh, he's a pitcher? I don't know. Listen, am I being completely honest? I know we have zero shot of ever signing a Japanese player. I shouldn't say ever, but yeah, we're not signing a Japanese player. So whatever. I haven't really looked at him. Nothing against him. I'm sure he's going to be a good player. I would like to sign a Japanese player because they all seem to be really fucking good if they're coming over here.
Yeah. I mean, just logistically, the travel is probably what keeps them closer to the West Coast. The same reason why Juan Soto preferred an East Coast team. It's easier to get to the Dominican Republic.
It's the market. It's not really like we think of Philly as a good market, but like outside of Philly, everyone else fucking hates the city. Like
it's fair, and we don't have any Japanese players as it is.
So yeah, we don't have some, but like like we don't have the history like the Red Sox have. So that's why the Red Sox were able to get the one guy 2 years ago, I think it was. We're obviously not a New York branch. We're not New York. We're not LA. So that makes it that much harder. I mean, once you get outside of those 3 cities, I feel like, Shohei Suzuki in Chicago. Chicago's another one of them, like, historic cities. So, like, of course, you're going to go play baseball at Wrigley if you have respect for the history of it.
Yeah.
So it's like hard. It's really hard for us to market that unless you're going to market, but like, it's not like Bryce Harper's Kobe Bryant over in Japan. So like, you don't have, as much as we like to think he's, a superstar, but like you can't really market him like you can Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Mike Trout, he's they market him, Nike markets him in, Japan and shit. So like that's why people like Shohei went to the Angels to start his career, kind of deal. So yeah, I mean whatever. For Erik's sake, I hope there's a ton of reports that the Phillies have meetings with him. that he came to Philly, sat down with Bryce Harper, and then in the last second, Shohei called him up and said, "Nah, you're coming to LA."
I can see that. I can see that 100%. He's going to be a Dodger. It's going to suck. I don't know what they're going to do with him.
I don't even think he's going to be a Dodger. Honestly, I think he'll be an Angel. I think Shohei's going to be, yeah, go to my old team. Fuck it. Just go over there.
We'll go to San Diego. Just be right down the road.
What is San Diego doing? Like, San Diego is like a team that I just like never know what the fuck they're doing.
I don't think they've actually done much. Like, I know we're getting aggravated, or Eric's getting aggravated as a Phillies fan, but I don't recall the Padres really popping up as like a team that's fucking doing.
They haven't. They still have interesting player, a utility player is Yasam Kim, their shortstop that they have. He's a free agent right now, and he's an interesting like Soto kind of guy. Where like, hey, a guy goes down, you have him on the bench, and he can come up and play some really good innings for you. Not to mention, like he could just play good defensive innings just in general. He maybe he's the Asian player. I don't know if he's Japanese. But I'll say Asian player that we end up signing. Maybe we get him.
Actually, yeah, you can't even find the transactions page on the Padres. Like you go to
Padres suck.
You usually go to like their page and they'll have like there it is. Fucking they have signed free agent right-hand pitcher Luis Patino to minor league contract. They've only been making minor league moves.
It's because they suck.
Yeah. They haven't made any major league. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense when you have Tatis, Machado, and Bogarts.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of positions kind of locked up right now. Plus, you had their rookie, who was really good in the center field. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Center fielder?
But yeah, center fielder.
Is it Merrill? Not Merrill. Lockridge?
Yeah, no, it's Merrill.
It's Merrill?
Merrill. Yeah. He's a fucking stud. He's like one of those like up and coming, like gonna probably kill it.
They also have a Rays. I completely forgot they had him.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing a lot of they're shopping him.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. The second baseman that's a first baseman that doesn't do anything. For as good of a hitter as that man is, he's not that good.
I'm looking forward to the future.
If that makes sense. Like, yeah, cool. You're going to get on. That's great. What do you do after that? Like, I mean, I guess you can't complain too much, but like, if he's playing shitty defense, it doesn't really help you.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes in, would you rather have that or would you rather have Schwarber? Where like he's popping 30 plus something home runs, but his average is down.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has a decent on base percentage. You know what I mean? Like, what in that situation, who would you rather have? Like, that's like probably the ultimate argument to counter what you always argue against Schwarber for.
I can't stand Schwarber.
I don't know. That's why I brought this argument up.
Well, that's a good point, because that was a piece of conversation we didn't have that we should have had, is our lineup. And we could end on that real quick. There was a news article circulating today that the Phillies are considering changing their lineup and their batting order. I have been an advocate of getting him off the goddamn leadoff spot, that you don't pay him to be leadoff. You pay him to be an RBI machine or a home run hitter. And I don't like it at first. I don't like him leading off, especially when you got guys like Trey Turner and Bryson Stott that would make a much more sensible leadoff. Do you think they move him this year?
No, I don't. I think Topper's too fucking stubborn for that.
I think they move him the first week.
Because that's fucking pointless. All right, if they move him, what I think they should do is I think they should start him in the leadoff spot. Start the season that way, right? Let him just be comfortable during his normal shitty part of the season, right? And then when he starts fucking popping off in June, fucking Schwarbertober or whatever, move him to 4, move him to 5. Like move him then, because that's the experiment you've never done. You've never put him in a different spot when he's actually hot. you usually like, oh, we're gonna put him in the 4 hole for the first month when he actually is usually fucking terrible.
Hmm.
But we're excuse me, we're gonna show you that his numbers suck in this position. So we're just gonna move him back when he's actually starting to hit his stride. So that way it skews the numbers a little bit. I think that's what I mean. If you're gonna move him, just fucking move him.
Hmm.
Personally, like, and keep him there. Like he can't hit out of the slump. I mean, it's like one thing if like you move him and then Trey Turner or Stott, whoever you have up there, is also fucking struggling, and then like everyone's just not working in
Yeah.
that space. Then that's when you maybe if Turner and Stott are both fucking struggling and you switch them back and forth, then maybe you throw him back in there. And then if it is within the week his performance changes fucking drastically, then yeah, okay, maybe there is a thing about him being leadoff, and then we can talk about keeping him there. But I mean, I don't
I
think
can't
I don't
stand
think
it.
that's the case.
I think him being there does more harm to the rest of the lineup. Just the
Does
way that
more
they,
harm?
yeah, just the way that everybody else bats.
How? How does it do more harm?
You have no one to protect Harper. Like you don't have a solid four, who should be Schwarber. And then Casty, as much as I love him, he is who he is. He will swing at anything, and he needs someone to protect him. So him playing 4, 5, or 6, and not having a strong 5 or 6 or 7 behind him makes him kind of useless because he's going to swing at anything. You haven't been able to break him of it. You didn't break him in Cincinnati or the other teams.
I mean, I okay, I get what you're saying. I mean, I felt like Bohm was a good four last season.
He was.
When Bohm was Bohm,
Mm-hmm.
he was a very good four last season for Harper because he's a player that will take the walks and he's gonna just. And if he's not taking a walk, he's getting consistently, like he's
Yeah.
hitting pretty consistently. But he's not the power guy, so I get
Yeah.
what like. I also get that argument. I mean, I do think that Schwarber is an ideal candidate for that, but it also gets into I guess the way Topper usually likes to do his lineups, where he wants to separate the lefty lefty
Yeah.
situation. So that's also part of it. Honestly, I think if they moved him, they move him to 5.
I'm okay with that too. If you had a
Like
Harper, Casty, Schwarber.
I think it would be more likely if the roster is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more likely to be Bone.
Okay, I'm cool with that too. If
It'd be
Casty's
Harper,
2.
Bohm. I mean, Cassie's not a bad too.
I see. My ideal lineup would have been Turner, Casty, Harper, Schwarber, but I would settle for Harper, Bohm, Schwarber, and then do whatever
I
they
don't
want
know.
for the rest of the bottom.
See, I don't know why they don't just do the. I mean, just do the typical like. Why isn't Harper for?
That too. I mean, that's just him being a dick. I feel.
Like that's just like Harper being 4. I mean, I guess it's old school baseball, but it's old school baseball. I understand the idea of Harper being 3 because you ensure that he's batting in the first inning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you ensure he's getting more at bats at 3 than he would at 4. But I just think Harper would be a better 4 in the long run.
I agree. And this could be a year where JT pops off, and here we are talking about him hitting like 7th or 6th or 7th. Because it's a
Yeah.
contract year for him, and he, in theory, should play a little bit better if we don't sign him to an extension.
See, my hope is, and obviously we're talking about the way the roster is right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they make that big trade, that maybe that person could be the 4-hole hitter, the guy
Okay.
that we're all looking to protect Harper, or maybe maybe they're the new leadoff hitter because it depends on who it is.
Yeah.
Because if you got a guy like we'll just say Luis Roberts, like if he's the one, I think he makes a better leadoff hitter than a 4-hole hitter.
Yeah.
Just the way he plays the game. Shaheen makes a good 2. Like honestly, if it's Roberts, I think he's a righty. I would put Turner, Roberts, Harper, Schwarber, or Bohm, whatever you want to do it. I would assume they would do Bohm, Schwarber, Casty, fill in the rest. However, the rest of the roster kind of fills out there, which would be scary. Thinking that we're talking about Stott being a potential leadoff guy, but he
Mm-hmm.
would then be batting 9th in this scenario probably.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be Marsh.
Well,
Would
it'd
it be
be Marsh or Rojas, I guess.
Kepler.
Kepler. Like, it'd be like one of those guys.
Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah.
on paper, this is
Ultimately,
a dangerous lineup.
on paper, ultimately, I do believe they move Schwarber though. I think that I don't think Topper is going to be stubborn. I think it hasn't worked. So change something.
Yeah.
Like we can't go into this season. If we go in same roster, we can't do same scenarios. You know, like we can't
Completely agree.
keep this up. Like it's going to be aggravating as a Philly fan to go in and if our same opening day lineup is the same as it was last year.
The same lineup that lost to the Mets in the NLDS. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
like
fucking painful.
how do you not change something? And then at the same time, all you've really improved on was your fifth starter.
Yeah.
Maybe fourth if you want to put him higher than Ranger.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's all we've done is improved on the bottom part of our rotation and then added to the bullpen. I mean, Romano, I think if he can get back to what he was 2 years ago with the Blue Jays, he could be decent. He could be a Hoffman kind of guy at the end of the bullpen if we don't sign him. But I mean, it's going to be by committee. So
yeah, I do think our outfield right now is a net neutral. Like Austin Hayes and Kepler would have been a toss up. Maybe Kepler was the better price. Actually, I think they got Kepler at a better price, didn't they?
probably, yeah, I think so.
Unless they do a big move out there, our outfield is a net neutral change. If Rojas and Marsh come back, and I assume who would be our bench players? Cody.
Yeah, I think right now we have Clemens, Sosa, and
Weston.
Yeah, Wilson. Wilson would be a bench player. Yeah, other than that, I don't.
Because the other
think
shit
there's
thing
anyone
is
else.
we have so many players that don't have options anymore.
Yep.
Which I think all three of them don't. Garrett, his new contract is structured and so that he can play minor league and major league, depending on how spring training goes. Like we're if we get some injuries, we might be in trouble.
I don't know. I don't. I haven't looked at our minor league situation. I don't know where we're at with that. I also think the Phillies are really good with. We signed those like fringe veteran players in spring training. Like the Cal Stevensons and who's the dude
Dahl.
that was. Yeah, Dahl. That was the one I was thinking of. Like those kind of guys that are going to come up and like, yeah, they only have one option, but it's going to be hopefully for that one injury that you need them for.
Yep, and it ended up coming back to the minors anyway. Like he got
Yeah.
DFA'd, passed through waivers, and was signed right back with the Phillies. So.
I mean, obviously we have a lot more time. We're only sitting here in January, but pitchers and catchers is getting that much closer.
Yeah, buddy. I'm excited. So that's really going to do it for us this week on the Jersey Phanatics. I'm glad you were back to join us.
Yeah, suck it, Erik.
Yeah, Erik and your sickness or your assignment. Anything you got to plug, Mr. Freed?
No, not really. I don't really have much going on.
Check out everything going on at basementprotocolproductions.com. Jersey Phanatics drops every Wednesday. The weekly protocol drops every Thursday. Mr. Freed has made some appearances on it. Erik Barrezo has made some appearances on it, as well as all other BPP members. Fridays are a Dace Tackler Mine, and we have a couple of new series that we're working on. Hopefully that will debut later on this month. We're also back to streaming with Minecraft Mondays on twitch.tv/Basement Protocol. And then the big Dace Tackler Gaming for a Cause 11 will return April 25th to the 27th. You can find all the information at basementprotocolproductions.com. And that's been all the plugs for this week. We've been the Jersey Phanatics. I've been Chris the Dace Man Dace. He's been Tyler Freed.
Deuces.
We'll see you next week, Basement Dwellers. Ring that bell.
Ding, 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 ding.